Yesterday I watched it on YouTube. Now I know it's a fact.
G'day everyone, I am the Anti-Theocrat and I'm back for another one. Now, before you all get worked up, there's a lot of sarcasm in this one. Don't let it slip by you. Come on, keep up. I want to know one thing from all you parents out there. People like me, I'm a parent. I want to know, are your kids properly catatonic yet? Are they so dribbling in the corner, scared of living life because of the fear of what's going to happen to them, that they can be described as nothing more than catatonic? They should be. They really should be. Greta has assured us that it is our job to steal her childhood. That we've done that, and I want to know if all the kids are up there yet. It is our job to make sure that all the kids have the fear. So, to help us to get the fear, let's listen to Bill Nye, the science guy, talking for the Climate 101 website, representing a climate reality organisation. Shall we have a look? Bring it on, Bill.
Despite the noise about uncertainty in the political arena,
I hope you note this, that the only uncertainty is in the political arena. It's that or the religious Fruit Loops who claim that only God can change the climate, right? These are the only arguments that exist. Do not question. They won't, don't you? We have to make sure your kids are in the right frame of mind.
Warming will actually save lives, not endanger them.
Do I believe scientists? No!
the fundamentals of climate change have been understood by scientists for decades.
That's the claim. And this Climate 101 make the first claim in the website. The first line is the 97% of scientists agree. That has been so debunked it's ridiculous to still be making that claim. But you make sure that your kids know and understand that all scientists believe they understand the climate like nobody ever before. They are all freaking experts. Even all the people who run all the places that are doing climate science in universities and so forth, who have no fucking qualifications in climate, they're all on side and know this to be true. And you will tell your kids these things.
To start with, there are naturally occurring gases such as carbon dioxide and methane in the
Carbon dioxide, 0.4%, I believe, of atmosphere. Methane is less, but according to these people, it's also a more dangerous gas. But yes, these are trace gases. It doesn't mean they're insignificant. We need them, but it does mean they're in fairly small quantities.
Earth's atmosphere. In themselves, they aren't bad. In fact, we need them in limited quantities to keep our atmosphere at just the right temperature for life as we know it to exist on Earth. But if we produce an excess of these gases as we...
Do you see that? We just produced an excess in extra jars.
...have, the temperature rises, as it has. If you want, you can replicate...
Do you see that? The thermometer went up by degrees, showing that this must have happened. You remember, you've got to keep your kids on target with this. You've got to say, you see that thermometer go up? The temperature went up. So let's look at this simple experiment.
Make this affect yourself in a simple lab experiment.
Simple-minded experiment, but let's not go there.
Here's how. Take two identical bottles and set them side by side. Put a
So far so good. They both have atmosphere in them.
thermometer in each bottle and seal them.
Yes, they still both have atmosphere. Now they've got a globe and a thermometer.
Then run a hose.
Don't they know the Earth's flat? Sorry.
goes from a source of CO2 into one of the bottles.
See, I had to put the denier thing there, you know, the Earth's flat. That's obviously how deniers see the world, so I had to do that. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry there. I didn't mean to get off track. Only climate, real climate people understand the world is a globe and it has a thermometer sitting on it.
Shine 2 heat lamps of equal intensity at equal distance onto each one.
Okay. Let's right, you've got to run this experiment for your kids. You really do, because you need them to understand that this jar with atmosphere and a heat lamp above it represents the Earth as it currently is, and that this jar with this bottle of CO2 being poured in on top, so that this is almost raw CO2 as opposed to the 0.04% currently in atmosphere. This is almost raw CO2. This represents the reality of our climate and what's going to happen if we don't do something. You must put this forward. You must not let your children go without the fear.
Within minutes, you will see the temperature of the bottle with the carbon.
Do you see this? Do you see this? The temperature's going up on both because there's a heat lamp on them. It's ridiculous. How dare it?
Dioxide in it rising faster and higher.
Look at this. Raw carbon dioxide in a bottle doesn't stop as much of the infrared rays or whatever in the fuck it is they're trying to prove.
The bottles are like our atmosphere. The lamps are like our sun.
You get that? This is factually true, that these jars accurately represent our atmosphere. Accurately. And this bottle here of raw CO2 being poured into this one represents what we're doing as mean, nasty humans. Remember to keep your kids on track.
Most of the solar radiation reaching the Earth is absorbed by the surface and atmosphere, which in turn radiates energy out towards...
Okay, don't anyone dare mention the hole in the ozone layer or the fact that it is healing, because the hole in the ozone layer was all about more solar radiation getting through to the planet. And therefore, we would have things going wrong because we'd all be frying. Sorry about that. So you keep on track with this. No mention of the ozone layer, possibly driving more of these random yellow balls away from this globe. No. We can only look at one element of this argument at a time, and that is sticking a gas canister in the atmosphere and releasing CO2. You keep on track.
Space as infrared energy, heat. Most of the heat energy from the surface is then absorbed by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and radiated back down toward the surface. The more greenhouse gases we create, the more heat is absorbed and sent back toward the surface to cause further warming.
I don't actually have a lot of problem with that. Yeah. See that thermometer go up? Did you? Make sure your kids see this video and take note of these things.
This recycled heat does more than bump up the thermometer. Warm air has the capacity to hold more moisture, and water vapor is itself a greenhouse gas.
Water vapor is in fact the most significant greenhouse gas. We shan't mention that here. We shan't mention the effect that water has on our climate. We will just mention that it exists and is a greenhouse gas.
So there's even more warming, which means the planet's entire hydrological cycle, the water cycle, is affected. More evaporation, more precipitation, more extremes in...
Then why the fuck have I got less cyclones this year, driving less rain across my damn drought-ridden country? Why am I still in drought? Why aren't I getting more rain? Why aren't the rivers full? Someone tell me. There's meant to be more fucking water in the system. That means I should be getting more. Why is my town about to ship in water by train? Get off your asses. Get this climate change thing right. At this point, I think my kids are going to have questions because they know we're in drought. What are you doing? They know this isn't happening to us.
In general.
In fact, we're not even getting that sort of dust storm anymore. We used to get bloody great waves of dust blowing across us. You could see it coming like a tidal wave. Like a bloody tsunami of dust. We're not even getting that anymore.
For nearly 1 million years, the CO2 content of the atmosphere moved within a natural bandwidth. But during the Industrial Revolution, humans started burning fossil fuels in increasingly large amounts. In fact, now, that's around 7 billion of us, rely on carbon-based fuels for 85% of our energy.
Don't you dare talk about the inaccuracies of this. Don't you dare.
Humans currently produce around 35 billion tons of carbon dioxide every year.
Which is what in the way of increase on the 0.04%, can I ask? And at what level does it become dangerous for us?
About 55% of that is absorbed by the ocean, land, and vegetation.
Okay, so already half of what we got is absorbed,
While the rest remains in the atmosphere. Most of that excess comes from burning fossil fuels. And more than half of the emissions come from power plants and factories, while about a third comes from our various forms of transportation.
Hang on, where are the cows?
If we continue the current trajectory, by the time our children reach middle age, the levels of atmospheric CO2 will reach twice that of our planet's long.
They told me this 15 years ago. How am I meant to sell this to my kids? How am I meant to sell this to my kids when 15 years ago this was the story? It's exactly the same story and it bloody hasn't happened. I'm beginning to think this isn't true. I'm beginning to think there's a problem. I'm beginning to think that what I'm being presented is just bullshit. I was going to do the experiment, pouring fucking CO2 into a bottle for my kids and pretending that was the atmosphere, and you're not helping. You're just not helping. I wrote about this shit 15 years ago, and this is exactly the same stuff you were telling me then.
Long-time natural levels. That is why we're already seeing the temperature increase, and we're already seeing the consequences.
I'm not actually seeing a temperature increase in my own life. In fact, I think I've had a short summer. It started late and it is already ending. This is a ridiculously cool day already, and we've had a few of them. In fact, it's just been so short a summer, it was almost like we didn't have one. I've lived the whole season without a refrigerative air conditioner, and it has been stinking hot a few days, but most of that was due to humidity, because the air conditioner isn't working, and humidity does not mean rain. Still don't get that shit.
4% more moisture in the atmosphere above the ocean.
4% more moisture above the ocean. I want 4% more here.
Is enough to transition to a new normal. Dramatic weather events, floods, storms, drought.
I tell you, we were warned before this season started that there would be less cyclones this year. And less cyclones means less run-on rain. When we get our really big rains for the season, out here in the desert country of inland Australia, the outback, we get it because the storms over on Western Australia's coast. Sometimes we get a bit when there's storms on the east, but mainly when we get the really good stuff, on West Australia's coast they get hit by the cyclones. And those cyclones, that rain pattern carries across our country. And I think there's a problem with our rain system because we've dried up our rivers, pouring it into farmers up in North Queensland and wherever. Because we're not letting the floodplains flood, so there's no evaporation over the land mass, which is a large land mass. And without that evaporation, I think you change our patterns. It's nothing to do with climate change, it's to do with us humans absorbing all the water in crap. Because we can't work with our systems, we have to advance our systems. So, bad farming practices. But, poor water management. That's the real issue. But, less cyclones this bloody year means less rain for me. I'm not impressed. don't give me this shit. I'm really starting to get fed up with this. I thought I was going to present this to my kids to get them in the proper catatonic state.
Fires. They're all happening at a frequency and
more rain and more fires. You make up your fucking mind which one we're meant to get. Are we getting dry or are we getting wet? And we'll forget all the other things to do with fires, like people lighting them by accident or otherwise, or the amount of environmental activism that stopped burning so that we can no longer claim there's no fucking fuel mass. They've been reporting massive fuel masses across southern Australia for bloody months before the fires started. But am I supposed to get more rain or more fire or more arsonists?
Intensity we've never experienced.
Arsonists, by the way, named climate change apparently.
Throughout human history. In other words, climate change.
We got to the scary words.
We've set this chain in motion, but the truly cataclysmic changes can be prevented if we act now.
Cataclysmic changes can be prevented if we act now. Look, I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. I'm just not fucking buying it. I wrote about this shit for a newspaper 15 years ago as an environmental columnist, which means I was fairly positive about the science. And at the time, the science looked like it had a fucking point, and the denial was mainly, only God can change the climate. And so there was very little in the way of negative that I could read, and I read everything I could find to write on this subject. And what I decided was that there was probably a case to be made for climate change. But back then, 15 years ago, you told me we had 3 years or 7 years, depending whose experts you selected, before their turning point with CO2 levels meant we had no way to return. And we only had, and even if we cut off on that day, we would have a 3-year turnaround before we would see any impact. Now, those dates passed 12 and 8 fucking years ago. How in the fuck am I supposed to take this same claim seriously now?
Carbon dioxide is not a harmful gas. It is a harmless gas.
The first step is to separate fact from fiction. This climate science is...
Oh, I'm glad they're here to separate the fact from the fiction for us, like filling a jar with CO2 and claiming it's fair representation.
It's no longer a matter of opinion, politics, or dogma.
No, I'm beginning to think it's entirely dogma, sorry. But that's okay, because I need my kids to be catatonic, and you are providing all the stuff I need.
So let's not let a few dirty energy companies fool us or slow us down.
Do you see that? Do you see what is going on there? This is fucking steam. What are they trying to present this as? This is a fucking steam cloud. This isn't CO2. This is water vapor.
There are now increasing numbers of affordable, clean tech energy sources, all available to us in...
Affordable? No, because I've been trying to afford some to put on a bus for a while now, but in order to buy the batteries, I would have to invest in a very unclean system of storing power. And not to say that the panels themselves are clean to produce, but they're not overly cost effective. The price has come down, but compared to what I can do with the 6 kVA diesel generator I've got sitting in a trailer, they are fucking pathetic. Weak as shit. I can get more out of that generator for less cost. And I don't have to have backup batteries.
Limitless supply. By embracing them, we will create jobs and improve the economy.
There have been solar farms going up all around me for some time now. I actually argued for them here in this town because our town is a mining town, and there's a lot of concern amongst people what we do if the mining shuts down or diminishes, which it has been. And I said if we could supply our town with the absolute minimum requirement in solar power so that we were taking weight off the grid which is a problem for us because every time there's storm activity, the grid goes down. We're right at the end of the grid. If we had our own production here, our base demand here, locally, through solar or wind, and we're in outback Australia, one of the best places in the world for solar. It's not even too bad for wind. Then we could make this town a little more sustainable in the future. And I haven't been able to get that through to people. Yet around us, we have two, north and to the east and west of us, we have now two of the biggest solar plants in Australia. One of them has contracted its entire output to a mine in order for them to get green offsets. So, yeah, I just don't think this is a cure-all. I think if it was, it would have been by now. There has been plenty of investment, plenty of time. We were told that we could replace Australia's entire energy output 10 years ago. We could replace the entire energy requirement of Australia by the end of 2 years if there was enough investment.
The current climate crisis is reality. We can't wish it away. What we
I'm glad it's reality. We can't wish it away.
can do is cease the debate and the denial.
Oh, so like a good cult, like a good religion, what we've got to do is just stop people talking about it. That's the clue. That's the thing. This is the message. End debate. End the denial. Mind you, you think everything that is debate is denial. That's why you said all of the above. Why should we end debate? That's not how science works.
And move on to solutions together.
Now see, I'm a solutions person. If that's all you were selling, I'd be happy. But first I have to spend, what are we? We got 10 seconds to go of this video. We spent the first, 3 minutes? Just scaring us into, belief, I guess. We want to make sure everyone's connected to the cult. Shit, that was the end of it. That was the end. That was where they finished. By saying we have to shut down all the cult deniers. Hey. So as you can see, this is the Climate Reality Project presented that. Now because this is climate reality, and because 97% of climate scientists agree that human activity is driving climate crisis all across the earth, you must show this to your children to get them in the proper state. And you know why? Because the more fucking dense your kids are, the more mine have got a fucking chance to get on in life. Yeah, that's where I'm going. Yes, I want more of you to fucking raise idiots so that I can get my kids through a bit easier. Because, it's a struggle. Lower middle class people, we do it hard trying to get our kids out of the fucking slums. And, all you've got to do is come and show them, or your kids, the Bill Nye guy, get them in the proper catatonic state so that they fucking can't actually function as human beings anymore. They'll all become fucking communist activists. And my kids will do okay. There'll always be a job for them. Righto. I am the anti-theocrat. This has been another one of those. May your gods remain fictional, and I will see you in the next one.